Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to another Mechabellum gameplay review. I've got a bit of a different game for you guys today, which was played on stream yesterday against a player called September. I was playing a very aggressive setup and my opponent was trying to defend against it. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, here we are. I got offered Quick Supply Specialist with Steel Ball Crawlers right off the get-go, and I just could not turn down the offer. So I do decide to pick it up. Quick Supply, such a strong card here. Starting out with the ideal units for a Ball Stang Rush, having enough Crawlers as well as chaff. And with the additional supplies, able to pick up Mustangs right from the start. My opponent decided to go for Rhino Specialist here, and starts out with Sledges as well as Arc Lights, likely picking up some Crawlers to help out. Yes, does decide to do that. I go for a very wide setup here. It is something I do rather often whenever I go for my Ball Stang Rushes. The reason for this is that these units on the right will be pulled towards the middle and towards my units, but because they are relatively slow, at least most of them, usually I'll be able to push through to the tower and then deal with these units later on. So they will join the fight, but they'll be too late to be able to help out significantly, basically. Now I pick up one pack of Mustangs, as I said, and I also pack a pack of Crawlers that I put on the right side to come in at a delayed timing and basically distract my opponent's units for a bit more. On this side, Mustangs are doing well to clear most of the chaff and help out the steel balls so that they are able to lock on to their preferred targets, being the steel or being the sledges and the arc lights. And as you can see, virtually every single unit on my opponent's side went and stayed on his side of the board rather than going for my turret. So that is why I usually go for a wide setup. Of course, this is not something you have to do. It's absolutely not mandatory, but it's an option that I like to use. And with that, I take the first round going pretty much as I'd hoped it would, and managed to even get enough XP on one of my steel balls to be able to level them up. Now, here we get offered different cards, and yep, I saw the heavy hacker card and thought maybe my opponent goes for it, and seems like he does. We do get anti-interference module and heavy stang. Now I was debating whether I should take anti-interference over heavy Mustang because of the potential for a hacker. Eventually though, my chat also convinces me, and I convince myself, that heavy Mustang is the better option because I will likely be picking up more Mustangs, and it is such a strong card, basically getting rid of the natural counters to Mustangs. So that is what I decide to go for. Also leveling up my steel balls and picking up another pack of Mustangs to complete the Ball Stang combos, and some additional Crawlers here, which I put on my opponent's flank, I believe, to distract. Yep, I do decide to do that. Flanking early on, very good. My opponent decides to go for the same thing. I do not counter it, so these will be able to get to the turret, but with the delayed spawn time, I might actually be able to get to his tower before mine goes down. Ball Stangs here doing very well. Easily cleaning up all of my opponent's units on this flank, and even with the tower debuff, able to also get the opponent's tower. And with that, I think I am in a good position to win the round. We'll have to see. My opponent does have quite a few units, and these are advancing towards my other turret. So let's see how this plays out. Do still have the level 2 balls alive, so these are very tanky, and as long as they're able to protect my Mustangs, I'll have some decent DPS coming from these. Opponent does grab the tower, but with the space in between the units, the debuff will likely wear out before my opponent's units, yep, are actually able to make good use of it. Here, though, my units split up, so we'll have to see. It's likely going to be fine because I do still have the pack of balls and stangs, and debuff comes in right in time to protect my Mustangs and take out the final units my opponent had. Very nice. Now, here we are getting offered 2 relatively decent cards early on, maybe even 3, Photon Emission, Deployment Spec, and Underground Threat. I am debating whether I want to take any of these. Deployment Spec, very strong card, but I decide not to take it because I think I'll be getting more Steel Balls, more Mustangs, and they are relatively expensive, so I likely won't be able to make optimal use of it. Instead, I decided to go for the Underground Threat. My opponent does the same, trying to again go for my towers early on. I do need to also answer this flank because the crawlers will now be spawned in and will not have the delay. Also, my opponent, being around 3, now has access to his free level 2 Rhino. And to counter it, I decided to pick up more Steel Balls and put them on the other side to try and defend in case my opponent wanted to rush my right tower. I do also put my Underground Threat on the right side of my board and pick up 1 more pack of Mustangs to deal with these crawlers, as well as potential crawlers coming from the middle here. Opponent now tapping into his Heavy Hacker card, was unable to do so before this round, and picks up 2 Heavy Hackers, so we'll have to see how this goes. I do level up both my other pack of Steel Balls and the Mustangs, so let's see how this goes for me. Crawlers here spawning, and we have a an absolute face-off between the spawned crawlers. They are delaying quite a few of my units though. Both my Mustangs, 1 ball, and the crawlers on the side of my board also got drawn in. So even though we do win, things aren't looking all that good on this side. Hackers actually getting to hack my level 2 Steel Balls, and my units aren't ideally dealing with them. They kind of struggle against the tanky Steel Balls, so this is coming back to bite me. And yep, last Steel Ball getting hacked, and well, the Heavy Hacker card is difficult to deal with for my level 1 Mustangs. So my opponent here got his counter online, and immediately it does pay off. Both of us get the option to go for improved firepower control system, however. My opponent decides to upgrade one of his hackers that already got enough XP from last round and puts the improved firepower control system on it. And I decided to do the same on Mustangs. Very solid item on Mustangs. Makes them able to deal with even some of the tankier units in the game. And let's see what I decide to do. My opponent grabs another hacker on this side and also upgrades a couple of his arc lights. And I, on the other hand, decide to take the disguise. Boats are a very common unit to pair up with ball stangs, especially when you do have photon emissions. And in this situation, I think boats will be able to dish out a lot of the damage against the hackers as well as the Rhino, especially if I do decide to tack for the chin guns. At the start of the round, I also decided to use a sentry missile, by the way, to get rid of the column of sledges and just make it a bit easier on my units. Hackers, though, still creating a lot of problems for me, are hacking the balls and are now also starting to hack my Mustangs. So while my opponent didn't actually have great units to be able to deal with anti-air, he hacks my units that are able to do that. And yep, able to take out my boat, unfortunately. And I am taking quite significant amounts of damage here. Already down to only 2,000 hit points, and it is round number 5. Anti-interference module, however, does show up once more. I decide to put it on the pack of steel balls that was again able to be leveled up. So we now have level 3 steel balls that will not be able to be hacked. My opponent, however, grabs Missile Strike and aims it at the Mustangs. And if these Mustangs go down, the crawlers will be able to get in for free. So let's see if I deal with it or not. I decided to sell, by the way, my other pack of balls, deciding that there is no good way for me to make these work. The hackers are getting high levels and are able to effectively hack my steel balls whenever they go in. So, deciding that I have to pivot and do something else. I am also grabbing, as I said, the chin guns on the Overlord. And with the steel balls being gone, photon coating wouldn't be the best here, as I actually am starting to move away from ground units and picking up even more air units. So double boats being picked up, trying to dish out massive amounts of damage to these tanky hackers. And also barrier now being picked up from my opponent. So having the extra damage from the boats is definitely going to help me. However, unfortunately, I did not see the missile strike coming. My Mustang pack dies immediately, and that means his crawlers on the side are able to get to my turret, and with the debuff, my opponent is able to deal with the boats just fine. Picked up some Phoenixes this round, and again wins the round convincingly, sending me down to just below 800 hit points. So things are starting to look a bit dire for me in this situation, and I have to turn things around. Now, luckily for me, another great Mustang item shows up with Amp Core. However, I decided to actually put it on the Overlord, so never mind. I think this is also something I talked about in game. I thought maybe I should have put it on the Mustangs, because they are heavy Mustangs as well, so they would definitely benefit from this item. And I pick up Wasps. Now, Wasp Balls or Wasp Stangs is also a combo that can be used. You don't see it all that often, but it is an option, because all 3 units have the same movement speed. And I recognize that my opponent doesn't have the best air chaff clear. So these Phoenixes will likely get stuck on the Wasps, which is why I decided to pick up more of them. Deciding to put 2 packs over here and 1 pack on the side. The reason I did this is because I was scared he might go for something cheeky and try and go for my right turret. So I thought maybe if I put these here with the ground spec, they'll be able to deal with anything that comes their way. I also pick up, by the way, the photon emissions now. And Wasps are getting in and dishing out decent amounts of damage. Definitely looking much better for me here. Still have 2 packs of Mustangs on the left that are doing quite well. And the boats are now finally able to lock onto the hackers, use their chin guns, and take them out. And with the delayed pack of Wasps on the right now also joining the battle, I will be able to take out the remaining units. Phoenixes do not stand a chance, and I managed to turn things around right on time. Now, charged ammo here is a very strong card on Mustangs. However, I wonder how good it would be, considering there isn't necessarily all that much to disable. My opponent hasn't bought many tech upgrades, but it still is a very cheap and very good item. Essentially getting the EMP effect for only 50 credits is very worthwhile. Intensive training could have also been an option, but yeah. I think it's a bit too late, round 7, to make good use of it, and deciding not to pick up the charged ammo anyway. Reason being, indeed, that my opponent doesn't really have many tech upgrades, and I would rather have the 50 credits. Now, here, I notice that this tower has been rather unprotected for some time, so I buy myself a pack of Phoenixes and mobile beacon them into the backline to try and disable the turret, and with the debuff, I think I should be favored. Also picking up even more wasps. My opponent does tech against it though, grabbing the Mustang packs, leveling them, and also going for both range and aerial specialization. So air units here might struggle. I do pick up even more wasps though, so we are now at 5 packs of wasps and a pack of phoenixes. I decided to also use my underground threat. My opponent didn't, so that is still something I will have to be wary of. But it looks like my flank will pay off. Opponent did not expect it and doesn't protect his tower. The level 3 Rhino on this side actually does go down to the Overlords and the pack of steel balls I still had. And with the tower debuffs, I am able to completely run over my opponent here. And that is going to be massive damage. The debuff also saving my Overlord on the left. And that is a massive turnaround for me. Now we are both down to pretty much dying if we lose the next round. So this will be crucial. We're offered a few cards here that can be decent. Electromagnetic Blast can definitely be good to be able to take out some of these shields for me, as well as disable the tech on the Mustangs, and so that is why I pick it up. My opponent, however, decides that the Smoke Bomb would be better for him, which I don't think is the best option. I actually have a lot of air units, and they would not get affected by the smoke, but we'll have to see how this works out. Now, I do sell my phoenixes, considering that my opponent should counter them, which he does. And instead, I try and go for a different threat again. So I notice, hey, this tower is still relatively open, so I can probably get to it. And so I pick up a Rhino at level 2, and I put it on the side here, and mobile beacon it straight to the turret. This hacker is not in range of that Rhino. We'll start walking towards the left and start hacking some of these units instead. So I believe I should be able to run in. I also pick up a level 2 boat, and with the photon coating, it will make my Rhino even stronger. Trying to really get to his turret here. I think that if I can get the debuff, the situation will be largely the same as last round, and I'll be able to take the win. So that is what I decide to do. Interestingly, my opponent has not gone for his actives, by the way. I decided to bubble over here in order to protect my Mustangs from a potential missile strike, but my opponent not using his missile strike and not using his crawlers, and that might have cost him. Indeed, my ID here pays off wonderfully. My Rhino gets in without any problems whatsoever, and we get this turret, take out some units, and then right when the debuff ends, we get the other one, ending the game and managing to complete the comeback. I was really happy with how this game turned out, making some good decisions, pivoting the units, recognizing that the steel balls weren't going to work that well, so selling them and deciding to take to the air was definitely the right choice. And going for the turrets here was very, very important to take the win. Able to recognize some gaps in the defense of my opponent and exploiting them basically to be able to take the win. So, I hope y'all really enjoyed this game. If you did, feel free to drop a like or leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.